I didn't like anything creepy at all. I was I couldn't even go to the state fair and walk past the haunted house and see and see pictures on the outside of it. I didn't want anything to do with monster movie. I didn't want anything to do with any of it, which I realize now as an adult when I've studied spirit, in the Word about spiritual warfare and the reality of it and having to face it. That's not good. That's not a good form of entertainment. Okay, so anyway, I used to live off my dad trying to help me go to sleep at night. When it would be a Frankenstein or something like that, he would say, "That's not real, son. That doesn't exist."
That's right. Yeah.
All right, so I'm a little kid. I remember it so vividly
because you couldn't wait to come share it with me, and
so,
you ruined my night.
I can take your chocolate bunny.
So I remember it so vividly when The Exorcist came out. The movie.
Oh, come on now!
And I remember getting spooked by a preview of it, and I freaked out. I didn't want to watch it.
Scariest movie I've ever seen.
Right, and so my mom and dad, from time to time would have friends over to play cards. They'd play, these little whatever
card games.
I don't know what they play. Yeah. But anyway, what's the one Dad likes that we've all played before that's good and you keep score? I don't know what it's called.
Rook.
Yeah, Rook.
Spades.
Yeah, all that. So they're in there. You got adults in there and they got their snacks, and they're having a blast. Well, I've got my cars out. I'm playing with cars, and just being a goofy little kid.
Rick.
And then they didn't know that I was within earshot of them talking.
Ooh.
And my dad and that voice that can carry. Like us.
And anything he said, we thought was the gospel.
And the man who had been telling me over and over, it's not real. The thing that I was clinging to, okay, and he says this to his friends at the card table. Well, I'll tell you the thing that really scares you about The Exorcist. I mean, that's real. That could really happen and does happen. And I'm sitting there, this little kid, and my whole life I've been told that none of these scary movies are real. And I remember I can see the car I was holding in my hand, and I just looked at the floor and I went, "What?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
You think you didn't come share that with me? Ruin my night?
Oh, I bet.
Sure he did.
Oh, heavy feet come running in.
And you know what's so bad though? Dad was the first to tell us stuff wasn't real, but he also would sneak in there and yank the cover.
I know he kind of had this weird
put
twist.
pillowcases on his head. And,
he would come in there and he would tell us good night. Come in and tell us good night. He'd always get his whiskers and try to scar your face up,
and
and then he would go, "All right, guys." He'd cut the light off and he'd drop to the floor, or you couldn't, and he'd crawl around on the floor in the dark and start pulling on your cover and all this stuff.
Or the famous, he'd look in there and he'd reach around with his other hand, like as a hand pulling his head back.
Right.
Can I tell you what? I've done that for all my kids, and it is a classic.
Yeah,
they just scream.
Oh, they love every minute of it.